Okay, I'm in a bit of a better setting to sit and think about things, and since posting my last video, just maybe want to expand a little bit on it. And yeah, hopefully not upset anybody, but because I know this is like I mentioned in the comments on the last video that it is a emotive subject, and I think people have been getting, there has been like emotions whipped up, and yeah, it's trying to take the emotion out of it, I believe. I think we should try to be calm, and yeah, this is a nice setting to do it. So yeah, just anything probably further to say, things that were coming to me, like some of my friends here, other who are into Bitcoin, they're saying like, if BIP-110 fails, I'm leaving Bitcoin. I'm out. It's the end for me. And yeah, I think Simon Dixon posted a good blog, which I'll put in this video, and his obviously the reason why he's an extremely wealthy businessman is his idea is to basically, he's coming out in support of BIP-110, but he's saying I'll support it, but then I'll flip back, if and when it fails. Which fair enough. It's good of him to come out and be honest about it, but I think I'll be honest, but I think it's maybe better to have a stance, more, possibly better to be aligned fully with your conviction and follow that through, and the reason why you're running a node. But another comment I had in the last video was a guy was saying, I'm just run. It's good that people are running nodes, and they should choose whatever they want, and that's really the essence of it. That's the essence of Bitcoin and a decentralized network. That we all get to choose, and that's really why I'm doing these. Why I felt kind of called to release this. Like, I'm not, obviously I don't want to, it's a controversial topic, and I'm not wanting to have comments saying like, get a grip of yourself or whatever, you're a pedo, or this kind of thing, which I haven't so far, and the comments have been really respectful, so I really appreciate that. But yeah, just in for me personally, I'm kind of on the opposite side now. As I say, I came from the side of the knots and BIP-110, and following these kind of characters, and Matthew Crater, and then Jack Cruz, and then it was almost like, I don't want to say this for a definite, and I don't know if this is the intention behind it, but I used to think, respect to Matthew Crater, he's like putting out this daily content, and every single day he's on the case, and he's tackling like hard topics, and he's not scared to go after the truth and everything. But then more recently I was thinking that maybe the fact I was listening to this messaging every day was actually sort of programming me into that way of thinking, because it's proven that just through marketing or whatever, when you keep constantly doing something, it goes into your subconscious. And it was only really since I had a break from it all, and as I say, like coming into nature and taking time to breathe and to and to think about the bigger picture. And obviously, as we get closer, that I started to find myself changing, and it wasn't through anybody on the opposite side trying to encourage me back or anything, like I'd been kind of led one way. It was more myself, and my intuition was kind of coming back to me, which is what I always say to people. It's like this, I'm not really that keen on don't trust, verify, because I think I think we need to live in a world where I like to trust, I like to trust, but I prefer to say, trust yourself, trust your intuition, your internal intuition, and through yourself, trust everything, so run it through your own filter first and see if everything stacks up, or see if there's, see if potentially you've maybe been stuck in your mind, or stuck in fear, or stuck in these patterns. As I say, with Jack Cruz, he's such a character. Like, I seen him at Prague and everything, but it's just so sensational, the stuff he comes out with. When I look back on it, and it's kind of like, it's entertaining and stuff, but I don't know how much I trust a lot of it. And I do prefer now to listen to more kind of grounded, like, intentional conversations with people who are, trying to get around the table, trying to come to solutions, rather than kind of these radical claims that we can throw about. I could throw, like, we can all do it, but I try not to be too personal about things, and to zoom out and to look at the big picture. And I think that we now need, like, credible voices, credible people talking. And this is what we're starting to see now. We're starting to see, like, I know people find it frustrating when people kind of sit on the fence about it, or everything, but some people, like, believe that you have to let things unfold and not to force things. And it's really important, because, like, going back to what I was saying about, people who were saying they're going to leave Bitcoin, for me, I would be more concerned if Bitcoin could be captured, say this was an attack from the BIP-110. I'd be more concerned about that, being able to, like, with currently 1% hash rate and very minority consensus, and like, there is a decent amount of nodes, and not arguing anything like that, but if that can make these major changes on the network, then that would really concern me, if that succeeded. And that's just my own opinion on it. I would be more worried about that than anything that I've encountered up until this point. So it's like, I do believe that, when I was in business before, like, some of the companies I was in, like, one of them, it grew very big, and I was part of, like, a small team, and we put in this, this was before the internet. This is before this crazy, no, not before the internet was just around, but we built this up, and it was like, broadband was just coming out, everything. Anyway, I'll try and get to the point, but basically, I could make all the decisions in the business, so I could do anything, and I could force it on all these staff, managers, employees, whatever, throughout the country by just a click of a button. And that showed me like the power of centralization. And obviously when you're a shareholder or director or whatever of that company, that's your you're entitled to do that, and people have to accept that. But with Bitcoin, I don't feel it should work that way in a decentralized network. Everybody should have a voice, and a few people shouldn't be able to change, or a small percentage shouldn't be able to make these massive changes. Yeah, and it does make things more difficult to change. And you are like, when you're in a private business, you're like on a little speedboat, so you can make these changes really fast, and you can adapt to things really quickly. Bitcoin's more like one of these massive freighter ships, like with lots of people involved. And that's the way it should be. It should be difficult to make changes and get consensus, and it should be about, coming together and doing all this. And I know people were upset about, Bitcoin Core making this change, but that was their software. It was their software implementation, and everybody was choosing to, well, they kind of had to run at that point. But now we're going to have more implementations, so it's really, like I said before, there's good things coming out of this. There's more choice coming out of this. There's more informed users. There's more nodes. But to blame, it's all been, a lot of it's been resting on these, CSAM claims and, this kind of thing. I just don't really buy that anymore. It's not like it would be stored in that kind of format anyway, and it's not like these, I can't see node runners ever being prosecuted or any danger or threat or anything come from it. But I know that this was like, it feels to me like I said before that I drew these parallels with like the fear that was surrounding like the pandemic, and there was a lot of people got carried away in this fear, and they got, it was like, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And I remember like people who were like fighting the war, I seen these big men, and they were, sterilizing their hands and wearing masks, and they were kind of challenging me for not doing that, and I was really doing it out of love for protecting everybody's freedoms, and I was saying like, people shouldn't be able to have that control to affect everybody else in that way. And this is kind of what we do, we try and, it's this savior complex, and this is why like America go around bombing the world, bombing other countries in the world and things like this, because we're trying to do good. Well, we're trying to justify intervention into things by saving things, and it needs our help, and this, we need to do this, we need to do that. But really, for me, again, I think the best thing we can do is leave Bitcoin alone. Bitcoin is the honey badger. I'm not saying never ever do anything to it, but I say like only in extreme circumstances, when we have agreement from everybody, because there's so many people invested in Bitcoin now. There's so many people have their life savings. There's people, there's companies, there's countries, like all over the world. It affects everybody. So it's not something like, it's not like my own businesses where I can just say, oh, I'm just going to change this tomorrow. Oh, I'm just going to change the software supplier, and expect everybody to jump and accept it. And I don't think that is, I think having a stable network should be one of our main concerns, really, and that's what we have with Bitcoin. By not doing too much with it, it works. We're guaranteed every day there's going to be 144 more blocks. and it's, the sun's going to come up and there's going to be more Bitcoin blocks, and that's really what gives us the peace of mind of this. It works, and um, that's really important. And the other thing I would say was, I mentioned in the comments just about setting precedent for being able to change anything in Bitcoin, because we kind of say to government, we're kind of, the line is like, it's censorship resistant, because like, guys, nobody can change it. We can't do anything to Bitcoin. And if we go ahead and start making these changes, I think that's potentially a signal to governments that we say, oh, you can stop certain things on the network. It can be controlled, it can be permissioned. And I'm not like going into that debate of like what is spam and what's not spam right now, because that's clearly something we need to define and like understand what is harmful for the network and what's not, and what is damaging, what is an attack on the network and what's not. But I'm just saying that my point is like a wider point of that governments can interpret that as being possible, and then it's like, theoretically you say to yourself, well, what if something's next? What if this, what if Luke falls out with somebody or doesn't like what somebody's doing with CoinJoin? And then we say, or just for an example, and then we say, okay, we don't want CoinJoin anymore, so we're going to change all this and we're going to do another soft fork. And to me, it is like this kind of slippery slope when you start doing these things. So again, I just think it's really important that we understand like really the risks of this type of soft fork, and it's really like important that we are just sensible about it and not get carried away with any of the crazy stuff on either side. So yeah, like I said at the start, that comment, it's everybody's choice. You can run a node now and you can make a choice, and it's up to you to obviously do your own research, maybe dig into some of the claims, try not follow anybody, like and go with your own intuition on it, and understand like Bitcoin is the honey badger. It will not roll over and die, and this is ultimately why I think BIP-110 is going to fail. And I don't want it to end like this. I don't want people to good Bitcoiners and people who are passionate about sovereignty and stuff to leave. But I think that it will fail because I believe that Bitcoin is stronger than being able to be like co-opted in this way. Hello. Little doggy. So I think that I don't think it's I believe in Bitcoin more than this. So I think that it's not going to be possible for it to go through, lacking an overwhelming majority of support. And but time will tell. And I'm still open to be things along the way. I'm still open-minded about things, and I'll still occasionally follow some of the new stuff, maybe from Mechanic, and see what's going on. But yeah, just stating my position again, and happy to hear what you think about it and any of the points I've raised. If you think it's complete nonsense or I'm wrong or anything, then let me know. And yeah, make love, not war. Peace.